Hello and welcome to Wilmslow News. Today we have a Wilmslow Half Marathon special. We go live to a special report with Patrick Fozzaholic.
What is the cardiovascular system? The cardiovascular system, better known as the circulatory system, is made up of the heart, blood vessels, and the blood. The human cardiovascular system is made up of two types of circulation, the systemic circulation and pulmonary circulation. The systemic circulation. The systemic circulation starts on the left side of our heart. It is a portion of the cardiovascular system which carries oxygenated blood away from the heart, around the body, and returns deoxygenated blood back to the heart. The blood leaves the heart through our main artery, the aorta. The arteries then carry the oxygenated blood around the body with the help of our capillaries. When the blood circulates around our body through the capillaries, the oxygen diffuses from our blood into the surrounding cells. The now deoxygenated blood is then transported back to the heart through our veins and enters our heart through the vena cava. The pulmonary circulation. Pulmonary circulation starts on the right side of our heart and is the portion of the cardiovascular system which carries deoxygenated blood away from the heart to the lungs and returns oxygenated blood back to the heart through our pulmonary vessels. In the pulmonary vessels, the oxygenation is reversed. The pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs, where it becomes oxygenated and is carried back to the heart by the pulmonary vein. The full cycle that the blood takes through the body is as follows. Deoxygenated blood enters the right atrium of the heart through the vena cava and flows into the right ventricle through our pulmonary valve, where it is pumped through the pulmonary artery to the lungs through the tricuspid valve. The pulmonary vein returns the oxygenated blood to the heart, where it enters the left atrium before following into the left ventricle through the mitral valve. From the left ventricle, the oxygenated blood is pumped out via the aorta through the aortic valve and onto the rest of the body. And that's it.
Thank you, Patrick. We now have an interview with one of the running favourites.
I'm Patrick Foster, live report with Jason Armstrong. You'll be running in the half marathon on Sunday.
That's correct, yeah.
So how are you feeling for that? Confident?
Yeah, I would say quite confident. I've got an aim at one.
Yeah, good. And you train? How often would you say you train?
I've been training every night for the last 3-4 weeks.
And I'm taking this isn't your first run?
No, I did the Wilmslow last year. I did the Great North Run earlier on this year. And the Longmore for this day.
That's quite impressive. That's quite impressive in itself. So you're a fit guy, obviously.
Well,
I don't want to be stopping you from training too much. So you're going to go ahead and train.
When we exercise, our cardiovascular system undergoes various effects. Some are short-term and felt immediately, others are long-term and felt after regular exercise for 2 to 3 months. Some short-term effects you will feel include increased heart rate, stroke volume and cardiac output. Exercise uses up a lot of energy which the cells derive from oxidising glucose. Both glucose and oxygen have to be delivered by the blood. This means the heart has to work harder to pump more blood through the body. This means it has to beat faster in order to achieve a higher throughput. Redistribution of blood to the working muscles and away from other organs. This regulation is an essential mechanism for delivering oxygen and glucose to the tissues that need it most. By constricting the blood flow to the organs that need less during exercise and increasing the blood flow to organs which need more. For instance, muscle that use less than 10% of blood flow when at rest can take up to 50% of it when they're working. The cardiovascular system also responds to an increased need for blood by adjusting the width of blood vessels. This is called vasodilation. If we exercise regularly over a long period of time, we will start to feel some of the long-term effects on our cardiovascular system. These will include cardiac hypertrophy and decreased heart rate. Because our heart is still a muscle, with regular exercise it becomes larger. It also becomes stronger and is able to pump more blood out of the heart with a single beat. This means that it beats less due to it pumping more blood with each beat. Increased size in blood vessels and amount of red blood cells. When we exercise, our body starts to become more efficient. Because of this, our body starts to create more red blood cells to provide our body with more and more oxygen. Because the heart is now pumping out more blood with each beat due to the hypertrophy and increased amounts of blood cells, the increased amount of blood leaving the heart stretches the blood vessels, this making them bigger so that it can carry an extra blood when being pumped out of the heart. Looks like this guy's got cramp. Back to the studio.
Thanks for that, Patrick. Talking of cramp, energy systems. To keep our body working in a sufficient manner, we require energy. The energy that we get comes from various supplies throughout our body. These supplies are muscular contractions and movement, circulation, transmission of nerve impulses, digestion of foods, repairing and replacing tissues. Each of these provide our body with energy to keep it working correctly. The energy that we produce can be found in various types. The types found are ATP, adenosine, tryptophan, creatine phosphate system, lactic acid system, aerobic system. Each are used in various ways in our body. ATP is a form of energy, whilst the other three are energy systems that use ATP and other forms of energy for different types of activity. The ATP energy source is the only form of energy that is used within the body. The energy is produced by a breaking down of foods that are eaten within our diet. The energy that ATP provides to the muscles is often used to allow the fibres to shorten and then gradually gain tension. If ATP is present, then the muscles are able to contract freely. The problem with ATP is that the energy can sometimes be very limited. If the body is to supply the energy of ATP, then three different energy types are needed. These are creatine phosphate system, lactic acid system, and aerobic system. For activities like basketball, a high intensity of energy is needed at a low duration. The energy used is in small amounts of ATP from cells, as well as a second high energy compound called creatine phosphate. The creatine phosphate is used in a small energy burst for around 5 to 7 seconds. When this energy is run out, then the system will no longer last. The body runs out of the energy supplies of ATP. PC, a second supply of energy is on offer. This energy source can last up to 1 to 3 minutes in intense level. This energy system is run by a breakdown of glucose, often stored in the muscles. We call it glycogen. The glucose used in glycogen is broken down without the use of oxygen. This is called anaerobic, but when used in this process, it's often referred to as anaerobic glycolysis. When glucose is broken within the muscle to provide energy, lactic acid is also produced as a byproduct. The lactic acid stores give a painful burning feeling in the working area and is often part of the breaking down of glucose. The broken glucose is usually split into both purific acid and then followed by lactic acid. This breakdown produces 3 ATP for every glucose molecule. The aerobic system is slightly different to the other two systems mentioned. This is because oxygen is needed to break down glucose and fat to provide energy of ATP. The system is used to provide energy when the intensity of the sport is low and the duration is long. An example of a sport is swimming. This is because the rhythmical style is often used. As waste products, carbon dioxide, water and heat are produced from the aerobic breakdown of glucose along with fat. Energy can be produced by the aerobic system by the breakdown of glucose or fat. Fat is the more powerful supply of ATP, but can only be used for low intensity exercise due to a lengthy process. For the high intensity sport, more fuel is required to meet these demands. Glucose is used. The amount of fuel used can also depend on the fitness of the participant. The fitter the people are, the more fat is burned. This is an advantage to them, as it means their glycogen stores will become bigger and last longer. Many of the different energy systems are used for different sports. The different systems are used depending on the demands of the sport. Sports such as football and tennis will look to use aerobic systems because they last a long time. They will also use anaerobic energy supplies because short energy bursts will be needed throughout the game along with recovery periods. Thank you for listening, and over now to Jenny for the weather.